Welcome, dear listeners and truth seekers, to the very first episode of Stranger Than Fact, where I, your loyal host and paranormal investigator, am coming to you from the misty northwest, from the quiet town of Fox Pass. Yesterday, I woke up in hospital with no memory of the last week, and no belongings except for a lock of my own hair wrapped in knotted hemp. All my gear, all my notepads, my phone, my evidence, gone. And that, dear listeners, is why you back up your notes. And if you sign up to Thundercloud Storage using my promo code STF, you'll get 15% off your first purchase. I'm beginning to get the impression that Twin Peaks and X-Files inspired paranormal RPGs are in vogue right now. Public access is getting a big boost recently. Triangle Agency quietly did super well last year, making a lot of Game of the Year lists. The Balsam Lake on Murders was a little highlight of 2025 for me. And here's another that released last year. All Night Breakfast at the Midnight Owl by Tim Roberts of Critical Kit. It's a chilled-out solo journaling game where you play as a paranormal podcaster investigating strange goings-on in the Pacific Northwest. And as well as your usual journal or notes from the investigation, the idea is that you'll have a podcast episode at the end of it as well. So, let's investigate. You're about to go on a wild ride with me, dear listener, but this is not Disneyland. This ride tells the story of bowling alley witchcraft, portals to other worlds, and dastardly ducks. Okay, maybe it is a bit like Disneyland, but it all started with Madison Garcia, an avid hiker, wildlife photographer, and paranormal tour operator, and the first victim. Now, it was difficult interviewing Madison, given how she can't talk anymore, or more accurately, doesn't speak any language that anyone understands. But here's the even stranger part. Madison is one of the very few people in Fox Pass immune to a 2-minute time skip that happens every day at the same time. How do I know this? Because at some point in this story, I became immune too. This is a really high quality zine I've got here. Embossed and glossy elements on the cover with the suitably spooky yet richly coloured art of Simon J. Curd. Inside, the paper is thick and nicely textured, with an extra printed texture for good measure. The layout is clean and simple and easy to read, and the paper's uncoated as well, so you can use the character sheet in the back of the book without having to print anything, which is nice. The lead took me to Megan Mitchell, who runs the local photography studio. Her long blonde hair, a perfect match for the hemp-bound tress I'd picked up at the industrial yard the previous night. She clearly knew something. Sadly, though, she doesn't anymore, after having suffered the same fate as her friend and fellow photographer, Madison. But what really struck me about that studio were all the Polaroids strung across the room like morbid bunting, all showing nearly the same image. A crack in a wall at that industrial yard. And they were time-stamped during the time skip. Megan, it seemed, was immune too. After coming into some money recently, you quit your day job to pursue your dream of hosting a paranormal investigation podcast. You'll be visiting a Pacific Northwest town and staying in a trailer behind the Midnight Owl, a 24-hour diner. The Midnight Owl will become your base, a place to return to unwind in a private booth with all your notes and clues spread across the table as you try to make sense of it all, or a place to talk to whoever might be there. That premise means the setting is probably going to be in the post-smartphone world, but it's not too difficult to adjust from a podcast skin to something more lo-fi like a blog or a zine, or even something like public access radio or TV. At this stage, the game teaches you to use the tables in the back of the book where you might draw for a town name and generate your first townsfolk character, the proprietor of the Midnight Owl, someone you can always rely on to be available at any hour to answer your questions about the local community and its customs. The first thing you do is draw for how you acquired your startup capital, because it might well come back to bite you later. You then assign die sizes to 3 skills: investigation, physical, and social. And then you're ready to get into the core loop. I still don't fully understand how the ducks are involved, but I promise you they are. And no, I'm not just complaining about the poop incident or the weird thing with the death circle. According to my notes, you know what? I'm just going to read them verbatim. They were guarding him, like the Secret Service or something. One had a knife. And let's just say, don't mess with an armed duck if you don't want to spend the next 2 days in a ward. I did get that receipt though. It's a bit bloody, but I got it. And I swear this is true. It's a receipt for a hunting knife from a store called Bucks and Ducks. The game takes place across 3 acts: the lead, the investigation, and the podcast. The bulk of gameplay happens in the investigation act, but first you'll draw 2 cards to establish what first drew you to the town and where that information came from. The investigation act takes place in turns, and you'll play through 6 to 12 of these before moving on to Act 3. A turn consists of first establishing a location. This might be something that's obvious from previous leads, or you can generate a location with some fairly detailed tables. Next, you roll a die to check for an encounter, which happens on 50% of the turns and will end up flavouring the investigation. On my first playthrough, for example, I kept drawing encounters involving birds, which gave the whole story a more surreal Twin Peaks vibe. And now you've got your scene established, you'll play it out. Generally, that'll involve making an investigation check. Skill checks are a flat roll against a result table using the die you assign to that skill. You're aiming for a 6 or higher to succeed, and if you succeed in your investigation check, you can draw on the clues table and note down what you found. As a rule of thumb, you can only do that once per turn, but you can use skill checks to resolve any other situations that might come up. To be honest though, I found that it was very clear that investigation should be your highest skill. You probably won't be using the others so much. There is a rudimentary combat system that uses physical checks, for example, but the game recommends either not getting into combat or hacking in a combat system from another game. At any point in the process though, you can generate new townsfolk or locations or ask questions of a simple yes-no oracle whenever you're unsure. Personally though, I find yes-no oracles a little lacking in creative writing games like this, and ended up using a third-party open question oracle for when I was stuck. Once you're done with a turn, you can note down what you found and either head back to the Midnight Owl or start a new turn. If you reach the turn maximum or are ready to form some conclusions though, you move on to Act 3, the podcast. And yes, we did get arrested at the therapist's office. The lengths your humble host will go to for you and the truth, dear listener. But get this, the arresting officer turned out to be none other than Aggressive Man himself. What a twist. And bold as anything, he still had Megan's library card lying on his desk. Apparently, I swiped it, but where it is now, I have no idea. At this stage, the game largely leaves you alone to write down your experience in the form of a podcast episode. There is a mechanical component in that once you're done, you roll on the engagement table with a die size and bonus depending on how many clues you found. It tells you how many new followers your episode drew in and gives you modifiers to future investigations. And that's interesting because that was the first sense I got that this isn't a one-shot game. You're not really meant to solve a mystery outright, just learn more about it and make an episode before going back out there. Where your story comes to a close is really up to you. I do want to mention though that for a game called All Night Breakfast at the Midnight Owl, the actual Midnight Owl diner doesn't really get fleshed out as much as I hoped. And for a game about writing a podcast, it leaves that part very much up to you. The bulk of the gameplay happens between those things in the investigation turns at other locations. That's not a bad thing. The investigation phase can generate some really fun stories. But I think I would have liked more content around the diner, its regulars and its mysteries, and a bit more development of the podcasting phase to really get invested in those aspects. A seedy bowling alley. I guess even witches need day jobs, or night jobs, I suppose, whatever. But after a bit of haggling, I got my charm. Yes, the charms. How central they are to all of this. Let's go on a little aside to the past, to an era of underground witchcraft, to a time when illicit magical charms were one of FoxPass's primary exports. When I first picked up this game to try, I took it to the cliffs near where I live, overlooking the bay and the misty sea, and with zine in one hand, phone in the other, I started my playthrough. I've been ill recently though, and had to come home before really getting into it, but that's the way I wanted to play this game. You need a way of drawing cards and rolling dice, of course, but otherwise you could actually just take this scene with you to a diner or a coffee shop and really immerse yourself. I suppose that's true for a lot of games, but I'm really glad Midnight Owl got me out there, even for that short time. And as for the game itself, it was a joy to play, hard to put down even. I always wanted to find out what I'd learn in the next turn. And I hope you enjoy the little snippets of my weird story that this game generated with its knife-wielding ducks and multiple hospital visits. It's strange, it's inspiring, it's just what it needs to be. With charm fresh in hand and all other leads exhausted, it was time to return to the beginning, to the industrial yard and the crack in the wall. And that the beginning is where this chapter of the story ends. The first time I experienced the 2 minutes that everyone else lost each day. I know that because the files I got from Thundercloud show who edited the notes with a timestamp. The last edit is by me, right in the middle of the time skip. It's just 2 lines. The first says, politician equals bird, ! And the second, they have Megan. Whatever happened after that is lost. All that remains are these theories without evidence. The official line is that Madison, Megan and Zach all had heavy doses of psilocybin in their systems. Supposedly, they were using something they'd found in the woods and shared it with me. It makes sense. The paranormal podcaster becoming friends with the local paranormal tour guides. It's a good line. But the truth, dear listener, is stranger than fact. I've got an ever-growing queue of games to get through, and never enough time. In fact, if I've got my dates right, the next game I'm planning to look at isn't even in this pile. I wish I could say yes to every game that enters my radar, and actually, on that note, I don't talk about this very often in videos, but as a growing content creator, I get a fair few emails from marketing people wanting to pay me to produce a video or promote their Kickstarter, but I don't want to take money for anything like that. I'm not an advertiser. I want to be able to pick what games I want to feature and when I want to feature them. And something that makes turning down those offers a lot easier is all the folks on Ko-fi who so generously support what I'm trying to do here and help give me that editorial independence. So thank you ever so much, and if you feel eager and able to support the channel in that way, please head over to ko-fi.com/cozyrpgreviews. And until next time, happy adventures.